Long before it became a playground for America's elite, Jekyll Island was a colonial outpost, claimed by the Spanish, coveted by the British, steeped in centuries of conflict, conquest, and survival. But that was just the beginning.
What was once the battleground of empires would transform into one of the most exclusive and secretive destinations of American history. Behind its southern charm and golden beaches, Jekyll Island hides a bizarre past. Secret meetings that reshaped the U.S. economy, private clubs that rewrote the rules of power, and echoes of war, wealth, and whispers.
This isn't just a slice of American paradise. It's one of the strangest, most fascinating chapters in America's history. Welcome to the hidden story of Jekyll Island.
Hello, we are Next Act Retirement and Travel. I'm Sarah.
I'm Bob.
We are part-time retirees traveling part-time to see the world.
Today we're going to explore the strange, mysterious, and hidden history of Jekyll Island, and we'll show you some of our favorite places on the island.
Let's start before the Europeans came to the island. Jekyll Island was home to the indigenous people who lived there, most notably the WWII, a coastal Native American tribe who thrived in the region for centuries. The island provided abundant resources: fish, wildlife, shellfish, and fertile land. It was part of a broader network of coastal trade and cultural exchange. Archaeological evidence, including shell middens and pottery shards, suggests that the Native American people were here seasonally, blending spiritual life with sustainable living long before the colonists arrived.
In 1733, General James Oglethorpe founded the colony of Georgia, and he named Jekyll Island in honor of his friend and financier, Sir Joseph Jekyll.
Accompanying James Oglethorpe on his voyage to the New World was William Horton. In exchange for his contributions, William Horton was granted land on Jekyll Island. Let's take a look at the ruins of Horton House and listen to Horton's life and contributions to the island.
This is the Horton House historic site. William Horton decided to travel to Georgia with General James Oglethorpe in 1735. Unlike many passengers on the ship Samand, he paid for his passage to America from England. Horton was granted 500 acres in return for paying for his passage. However, as a condition of the land grant, he was expected to bring 10 indentured servants, one for every 50 acres, and have 20% of this granted land in cultivation within 10 years of his settlement in the new colony. Horton was labeled an adventurer when he decided to travel to the new colony and left a wife and 2 young sons in England. His family did not join him in Georgia until he was settled and established on his property. It was nearly 5 years before Horton was able to return to England and bring his family back to his farm on Jekyll Island. In 1736, when William Horton first arrived on Jekyll Island, it could not have been more isolated. He was the first European to occupy this land and was responsible for the first sustainable farm. His closest neighbors were at the settlement Frederica on the island to the north, St. Simon's Island. This was Horton's connection to civilization. The settlement on St. Simon's Island was also home to Fort Frederica, the protection for settlers from Spanish and Native American attacks. At this fort, Horton became a major in the British Army and second in command of the settlement under General James Oglethorpe. It was here at Fort Frederica that the southernmost frontier of the British colony was defended in an attack by the Spanish in 1742. This tactical win by the English military ensured that British rule was firmly established in Georgia. Here is another fun fact about William Horton. In the year 1747, he purchased a great kettle pot and began brewing beer on Jekyll Island. This is recognized as the state of Georgia's first brewery.
We'll fast forward to the end of the 1700s when a man by the name of Christophe DuBignon, a Frenchman, fled from the French Revolution and purchased land on Jekyll Island. A century later, in 1879, a descendant of DuBignon and some compatriots would work to turn Jekyll Island into a private hunting club for the nation's wealthiest individuals. It would quickly become a winter hideaway for the rich of the Gilded Age.
It did not take long for the island to be purchased by the newly formed Jekyll Island Club, which was called the richest, the most exclusive, the most inaccessible private club in the entire world. The club was literally a retreat for families that owned 1/6 of the wealth of the world.
This was the Gilded Age, and those involved in the club included the names of J.P. Morgan, William Rockefeller, Joseph Pulitzer, and the Vanderbilts. These were the moguls of railroad, oil, newspapers, and banks. Behind the doors of the opulent cottages and Jekyll Island Club, these elites mingled in exclusivity, shaping the future of American business and, in some cases, the nation itself.
But perhaps the most influential event that happened in the island's history did not happen in broad daylight. It was under cover of secrecy.
In November 1910, a private rail car left New Jersey carrying a group of powerful men who traveled incognito. Their mission was to design a new financial system to prevent future panics like the one of 1907. The destination was, you guessed it, the super exclusive Jekyll Island Club. Among them were Senator Nelson Aldrich and other top financiers and policymakers of the time. For 9 days, in the quiet, secluded realms of the clubhouse, amongst the dense forest and the wild marshes, these elite leaders debated and drafted what would become the Federal Reserve Act of 1913.
The meeting was so secretive that the attendees used fake names and avoided public records. For years, the public had no idea that this meeting had taken place, let alone taking place on a remote island in Georgia.
What they created was the blueprint for the Federal Reserve, a centralized banking system that would control U.S. monetary policy, interest rates, and the supply of currency. And it all happened on this quiet, remote island.
Unfortunately, like the tide washing onto the shores of Jekyll Island, time did not stand still. There was the Great Depression of the 1930s, and it was a blow to even the richest families in America. Then came World War II.
The government greatly feared coastal attacks and ordered the evacuation of the barrier islands, including Jekyll Island. The club closed its doors in 1942, never to be reopened. The once grand mansions, cottages, and clubhouse sat empty, part of a lost and bygone era.
After the war ended in 1947, the state of Georgia purchased the entire island with the intent of turning it into a state park.
Despite being a state park with all of the land owned by the state of Georgia, there are homes and businesses on the island.
How is that, Sarah?
The homeowners and businesses own the buildings that they use, but the land underneath is still owned by the state of Georgia, and those owners of the buildings have renewable long-term leases with the Jekyll Island Authority.
So, Sarah, where is this mysterious island located, and how do you get there?
Okay, you know how I love my maps.
I know you do.
Jekyll Island is located near Brunswick, Georgia, and also St. Simon's Island. For more information in getting to this area, you can check out our video called Where is St. Simon's Island? You will also find on there how to get to Jekyll Island. You can drive to the island, however, there is a daily fee per vehicle for going on to the island.
Now, let us show you some of our favorite spots on Jekyll Island. Let's look at the map. We will essentially go clockwise around the island. We'll visit the Sea Turtle Center first, then go to Driftwood Beach. After lunch at Tortuga Jack's near the Great Dune Beach, we will show you a secret passage to get to the beach. Last, we will visit St. Andrew's Beach and learn of more hidden history of Jekyll Island.
Nestled beneath the island's ancient live oaks, the Georgia Sea Turtle Center serves as a beacon of conservation and education. Opened in 2007, the center is dedicated to the rescue, rehabilitation, and research of injured sea turtles, many of whom wash ashore due to boat strikes, cold stunning, or pollution. Visitors can observe the sea turtles undergoing rehabilitation and learn about the fragile ecosystems these creatures depend upon.
When you're at the center, you can go to the Turtle Hospital and see the turtles undergoing rehabilitation. When we were there were several turtles that suffered from hypothermia, being cold stunned, and that had occurred off the shores of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Those turtles were all given the name of Spices. Now let's take you into the hospital and see what else we can learn.
We are at the Georgia Sea Turtle Center looking at the Sea Turtle Hospital. It's cute that they give all the sea turtles different names. This is sage and turmeric. They must be using spice names right now. Except for this one's not a spice. This one is Kring Rowan. The Georgia Sea Turtle Center focuses on sea turtle rehabilitation, research, conservation, and education. However, it also receives hundreds of non-sea turtle patients every year. These are mostly land turtles that come from brackish or freshwater environments. Lavender's over there, can't really see her because of the net. I think a lot of these turtles have gotten well and have been released because you see they have on these placards like Lemongrass was released. She had frostbite on her neck. She was rescued by the New England Aquarium team after a mass stranding event of cold stunning at Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Parsley has been released. She was found on St. Simon's Island. She was cold stunned too.
The center has a well-designed educational area where you can learn about how the turtles live, their environment, their environmental challenges, and how we as humans can help.
This turtle here was a current educational turtle. We had fun watching the little guy doing its thing. It is almost big enough and will be turned out into the ocean pretty soon.
Now on to our next stop on the island. There is a spot on Jekyll Island that is absolutely outer-worldly. Let's go now to Driftwood Beach. The beach is an amazing and hauntingly beautiful shoreline where sun-bleached trees rise above the sand like sculptures. But this eerie landscape wasn't always this way.
Over time, powerful coastal erosion and changing tides gradually encroached upon the maritime forest, swallowing it inch by inch. As the ocean claimed more ground, salt water saturated the soil, killing the trees, but leaving their twisted trunks and gnarled branches behind. What remains is a surreal reminder of nature's power and patience, an ever-changing gallery shaped by wind, water, and time.
The beach looks different every time we visited it. We will go live now with our impressions of the beach on this visit.
It is actually looking much different out here than it has before. These rocks, last time we were here, they weren't here, were they, Bob?
No, they weren't.
And so now they've, I don't know, washed up. I don't know, it's because of the storms or whatever. And this tree right straight ahead when we were here before was standing up. It was the classic view of Driftwood Beach, but now it's gone down in, I think, one of the storms. And so I'll put up a photo of it to compare it, I think. I'll try to. And show you. It's a very popular beach to come and look at. And also popular for, say, couples to have their engagement, look at that root system, but their engagement photos taken on some interesting area of this beach. The next place we'll show you is one of my favorite secret spots. We'll go to our live narration to show you this intriguing spot. Hey folks, we're still on Jekyll Island, and this is one of my little secret places. We're at Tortuga Jack's, and we've come across the parking lots over there, and we've come across this bridge, and now the secret tunnel to the beach. I'm going to take you through it. Okay, I've managed to step so I can talk again. I just love this little wooded tunnel out to the beach. Struggling to get up the dunes there. See the ocean. Oh, I'm almost up to the top. Will Sarah make it? Will she make it? She made it. Oh, the beach looks cool. The tide is down, so it's got a big, big beach area.
The last place we'll stop on Jekyll Island is the St. Andrews Picnic Area and Beach, located at the south part of the island. We are stopping here not only to get a view of the south end of the island, where there's a raised viewing platform, but also because the park tells the hidden story of the ship the Wanderer, which was involved in illegal slave trade. While we show you the park, we'll tell you all about the Wanderer.
In the late 1850s, on the eve of the Civil War, one of the last chapters of the transatlantic slave trade played out in secret along the tranquil coast of Jekyll Island. At the heart of this illicit saga was a vessel both beautiful and damning. The Wanderer, a sleek yacht built not for war or commerce, but for prestige. And yet it would become the ghost ship of American shame, an outlawed ship hiding in plain sight.
The Wanderer was constructed in 1857 in the shipyards of Long Island, New York. It was one of the fastest yachts of its time. She was commissioned by New York businessman William C. Corey, who sold her shortly thereafter to Charles Augustus Lafayette Lamar, a wealthy cotton merchant from Savannah, Georgia.
Lamar was no ordinary planter. Born into wealth and connected to the political leaders of the time, he was fiercely pro-slavery and passionately committed to the Southern cause. More importantly, he was a leader in a covert network of men who wanted to reopen the transatlantic slave trade, despite its federal prohibition in 1808. To Lamar and his associates, the ban on importing enslaved Africans was unconstitutional and bad for business. They viewed themselves as patriots of the Southern cause and defenders of a way of life.
Using Corey as a front, Lamar purchased the Wanderer under the pretense of yachting. In 1858, the ship was secretly retrofitted in New York and Savannah for a much darker mission. Secret compartments, hidden water tanks, and extra provisions were added. Shackles were installed below deck, and the luxurious fittings were stripped to make room for human slave cargo. To hide their true intent, Lamar ensured that the ship carried yachting flags and sailed under the guise of sport.
In the summer of 1858, the Wanderer set sail from Charleston, South Carolina. She stopped in the Caribbean, then crossed over the Atlantic to Western Africa, near present-day Angola and the Congo. There, working with local slave traders, the crew purchased over 500 African men, women, and children. Most of them were teens or younger.
The Middle Passage was as cruel and harrying as any that had come before. The enslaved were packed tightly into the hold with hardly even any room to lie down. Disease, thirst, and despair ran rampant. At least 70 to 80 of these slaves died before the Wanderer reached Georgia.
On November 28, 1858, the Wanderer slipped quietly into the St. Andrew Sound and anchored off of Jekyll Island. Under the cover of darkness and with the help of Lamar's associates, the surviving 409 captives were brought ashore. From here, they were taken inland and quickly sold to plantations in Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi. Some, however, did stay on Jekyll Island.
The landing was intended to be covert, but with the scale of the operation, it didn't stay secret for too long. Within weeks, rumors began to spread. Federal officials launched an investigation. The northern press erupted in outrage. Abolitionists seized on the event as proof of Southern lawlessness and cruelty. Lamar and his allies were emboldened. They weren't ashamed. However, Lamar and several of his co-conspirators were arrested and charged.
Despite a federal crackdown and a high-profile trial in Savannah, Georgia in 1859, Lamar and his associates escaped conviction. Nobody was ever punished for this. The case collapsed under a combination of weak enforcement, pro-slavery juries, and the lack of federal will. Southern newspapers painted Lamar as a folk hero, a symbol of resistance to Northern interference.
The Africans brought aboard the Wanderer vanished into the southern landscape. Some died in bondage. Others survived. Even their descendants didn't know of their origins. Oral tradition in parts of Georgia and Alabama suggest that some families have roots tracing all the way back to the ship's landing. One young boy, reportedly called Umwala, was around 10 years old when he arrived. He became known for telling the story of his capture and passage late into his life.
In recent years, historians and local communities have sought to reckon with this past. A monument erected on the southern end of Jekyll Island commemorates the Wanderer and the 409 Africans who survived the voyage. It stands near the site where the captives were brought ashore, a solemn reminder of the island's hidden history. For generations, the Wanderer was nearly forgotten, erased by time, politics, and shame. Today, it stands as a haunting testament to the persistence of human greed, but also the resilience of those it sought to destroy.
The exhibits of St. Andrews also focus on the contributions the enslaved Africans made to agricultural production, food, and the culture of coastal Georgia.
We have come to our end of our tour of Jekyll Island. There are certainly other sights and things to do on the island. We hope you have enjoyed this video and learned something about Jekyll Island's hidden history. Because we are part-time travelers and do various trips from cruises to road trips, from local to international, we are placing those different types of travel into playlists. The Jekyll Island video is going to fall under the St. Simon's Island playlist. So if you'd like to know more about the area and St. Simon's in particular, you can check out the St. Simon's playlist. But also check out our other videos, particularly on our cruise to Panama and Central America.
If you have enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe. You can also click on the notifications once you subscribe to let you know when we have a new video out. We would love to hear your comments, so please feel free to leave them below. And until next time, we say goodbye.
Goodbye.